Where do we begin with literary fiction? Who here considers himself a reader of literary fiction? Oh, not as many people as I thought. Okay. So literary fiction is always being debated. In fact, it recently came up on a ALA listserv just last week. People saying, what is literary fiction? How do we define it? What fits into that category? I found some comics when I was researching literary fiction that I just thought were kind of fun. So basically, literary fiction, the term itself came into common usage in the 1960s. It was originally made to denote the difference between serious fiction of literary merit and distinguishing it from genre or more popular fiction. So one of the writers that I was researching spoke about literary fiction focusing more on style, psychological depth, and character. Tends to be multi-layered stories which wrestle with universal dilemmas rather than with plot. They usually provoke the reader's beliefs and thoughts, often with an outcome of changing or altering their audience's outlook on life. More often than not, literary fiction addresses what might be considered more serious issues to uncover a truth, bringing its audience, by way of the main character, to a deeper understanding about life. So, whoa, that's quite the goal, hence the serious face right there. So sometimes literary fiction and literature are used to mean the same thing, but literature can also refer to a broader category of writing. Few characteristics of literary fiction. As I've already mentioned, it tends to focus on character development before plot, although of course plot is still important because if you don't care about what's happening in the story, you're just going to put it down. But basically that focus on character development in order to elicit an emotional reaction and draw attention to human themes. There is an exploration of broad themes. There's often a focus on a subtext. It has to be beautifully written. The style is Joyce Sarix, who is a well-known Reader's Advisor expert, has described literary fiction as elegantly written, lyrical, and layered. So the style can be poetic and rich in imagery, but it doesn't have to be, as long as it flows. Generally, there is that serious tone in literary fiction. I'm sure you can think of examples of literary fiction that are humorous and fun as well. It uses slower pacing overall than other genres, and it can feature a wide variety of subject matter, so it's not tied into that, sometimes romance or fantasy have certain things that they have to do in their plot. Literary fiction can be about anything. However, one author, Eden Lapuki, who wrote, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but she wrote California, which got a lot of press with Stephen Colbert recently. So she's a well-known fiction writer, and she says literary fiction does have its usual tropes. Adultery, flashbacks, moments of revelation, a dog barking in the background. One reader is like, oh, every literary fiction I read has child rape in it, it's horrible. And as soon as I read that, I was like, yep, Anne Marie MacDonald, Alice the Bull, Elizabeth Hay. Like, you can think about these tropes that fit into literary fiction as well. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this internet sensation, but you can find this image of this dog for everything. So this is who page are you on? Many words, no feelings. So lots of things to do with literary fiction here. And he has a good point. Many word, much book. Literary fiction is often overwhelming in its size. Like if you think about the big ones of this year, the Luminaries, the Goldfinch. Who's reading these books? I mean, I am, but I haven't finished the Luminaries yet. I'm on part 1. It started in January. So if you think about literary fiction, sort of the classics of today. So if any of these fantastic classics were published today, they would probably be called literary fiction. So you've got your Jane Austen, your Charles Dickens, Charlotte Bronte, etc. So you could argue that literary fiction has existed forever. There's definitely controversy about the term. In theory, it's supposed to be distinguished from anything that is too popular or commercial. However, obviously there's tons of literary fiction that's popular and commercial. There's also the controversy over the idea that the term means that genre fiction is less serious or less literary. I'm sure you can all think of fantasy books, historical fiction, mysteries you've read that are beautifully written, fantastic literature that you would consider literary fiction as well as another genre. So that's something to keep in mind. One more comic. That's the last one. So this is a just calling attention to that divide, you know, oh, you read science fiction? Oh, those characters aren't as important as, you know, so. Is literary fiction just another genre? Some authors argue that literary fiction is in itself just another genre. Samuel R. Delaney is a writer and critic who notes that the literary genres might be characterized as the tyranny of the subject because of the focus on the subject, the self, and psychology. So is literary fiction just self-help fiction, and I love me, it's all about the individual character? On the other hand, another critic, Mort Castle, suggests that literary fiction is composed of three genres: literature, the classics, realism, and postmodernist fiction. So there's definitely lots of debate out there of what is literary fiction. John Updike, a famous author who's considered to write literary fiction, hates the term. He says, literary fiction has sprung up recently to torment people like me who just set out to write books. And if anybody wanted to read them, terrific. The more the merrier. But now, no. I'm a genre writer of a sort. I write literary fiction, which is like spy fiction or chick lit. He said that all works of written word are literary because they are written in words, which is a really good point. Oxford English Dictionary agrees with him. One of the definitions of literary is appearing in literature or books, fictional. So, there you go. Accountability, that's another topic that's come up about this term. Neil Stevenson, that's him right there, he suggests that literary authors are often accountable to a university or an institution and they must seek critical acclaim, whereas genre novelists seek to sell to a mass audience. Yes and no, I think that lots of literary authors also seek to sell to a mass audience. Greg Powell, an assigning editor of the New York Times Book Review, noted that the line between literary and commercial fiction was, in his view, not solely made up by marketers. A commercial book is not nearly as interested in character development or quality of prose. The characters are implausible or predictably just fulfill a role in service of the story. They don't have surprising ideas or insight. They're much easier to read. They're commercial, and people are happy to confirm their prejudices or just read something for story. So that's his opinion of how it differs. Anyway, it's all very confusing. I don't think I'm helping. So here's 2 minutes. Okay, really quickly. How can you tell if it's literary fiction? Oh my gosh, is it published in hardcover or trade paperback? Not mass market paperback in most situations. The cover's usually quite artsy. You won't see bare chests or dripping fangs. The titles are often artsy as well. So, for example, moving forward sideways like a crab. Definitely literary fiction. Another way to tell, what does the cover look like? I totally judge books by their cover as well, just like Leanne was talking about. So often you'll have these beautiful covers. Another thing Eden Lapuki said was that the long title is another way to check it out. If it has a long title, often in the second person, then you're dealing with literary fiction. So look at all these ones. Whew. But the opposite's true too. Oh my gosh. There's no colors on these covers. They're very subdued images, simple one-word, two-word titles. Hey, that works too. So how do we really figure this out? Does it have a decal on the cover? Thank you, Literary Awards. And Oprah, of course. Oprah reads lots of literary fiction, so you can keep an eye out for her sticker as well. Early examples of literary fiction, if we're looking at the term arising in the 1960s, hey, there's that Mice and Men one, but that doesn't mean you want to give it to your newcomers. But these are all good examples of some of the books in the early 20th century, middle 20th century. I also have a list of authors who are popular today on the handout. I'm not going to go through all of them. But I wanted to end on this because I like this quote. Literary fiction, by its nature, allows itself to dawdle, to linger on stray beauties, even at the risk of losing its way. Thank you.